Now that we have the home decorated for fall, which is my most favorite season, and if you would like to see the video where I went through and decorated my home for fall, I will link it below. But we're going to move on into the kitchen and talk about and make some of my most favorite seasonal fall soups and stews. I think this time of year when it gets cooler, I automatically just start thinking about certain soups and stews that I love to make for my family. One thing that I love so much about these soups and stews is that you can make them ahead and you can freeze them if you want to get a little bit of a jump start. So what I'm actually going to be doing is I've already made some beef stew. So I made that a few days ago, and I'm going to walk you all through me making the homemade beef stew using my Instant Pot. And then I'm also going to make today some cheddar sausage potato soup and some chicken noodle soup. So these are very simple recipes, and since I'm making them all today, I'm actually going to freeze them. That way, in the coming weeks, if we want to have a soup night, I can just pull one out the night before and let it thaw in the refrigerator and then heat it up, and we can have that for dinner, and I don't have to make dinner that night. So I've already got it. So that's what's great about soups and stews, is they're so easy to freeze. So let's get started today making some of these delicious fall soups and stews. So that looks like plenty of potatoes to me. This is a 5-pound bag of potatoes, so I have like 4 left, which would be enough for me to make some baked potatoes if I wanted to for dinner one night, or maybe fry up some potatoes with a small breakfast. Do not throw your potato peels away if you have a garden. These can go into your compost pile. So that's what I'm going to do with mine. I'm going to save them and put them back and just toss those into our compost pile with everything else. But I'm going to go ahead and wash our potatoes so that we can start chopping them up and get them ready for the stew. I'm using the leftover sausage grease from frying my sausage that I'm going to also put into the potato soup, and I'm using a Lodge enameled cast iron Dutch oven, and so I will link this in the description below. I love having this, and so that is the first step for the potato soup. I'm also going to go ahead and add in a little bit of butter, because whenever I make my potato soup, I start by making the roux, which is just me adding the grease or using the leftover grease from whatever I've fried, whether that be bacon or sausage. And then I'll add in a little bit of butter, I'll cook the onion, and then I'll add in flour and milk. And I'll make a roux, and then I'll add in the water and potatoes and let that cook all together and thicken up. And then I'll add in the sausage and the diced tomatoes and green chilies and the cheddar, and let all of that simmer for a while and just kind of mold together or meld together. I don't know what the right word is for that. But all of the flavors just combine and it cooks in this, and it turns out really well that way. I know a lot of people want to have a thicker, creamier soup, and they struggle with knowing how to get a thick and creamy soup. And the answer to that question is by making a roux. So I hope that this helps you guys when you go to make your fall soups and stews and you want to make a roux to add thickness to your soup. I know a lot of people will just take cornstarch and water, and personally that does work a little bit, but you can add cornstarch and water and also make a roux. So even if you've already made your soup and you know that it's a little bit watery and you would like to thicken it up, then you can take a cast iron skillet, melt a stick of butter, add some flour in, add some milk in, and it'll make a really thick paste. And when you have that nice thick paste, you can add it into your soup and let it simmer for a bit, and that will really help to thicken up your soup. Also, if you have something like a vegetable beef soup or anything that you could maybe add a few little potatoes in, the potatoes really help to thicken up soup as well. So there's a few tips if you like a thicker and a creamier soup. You want to bring your soup to a boil after you have added in your potatoes and sausage and water and diced tomatoes and green chilies. And you want to put the lid on and turn it down to simmer and allow it to just simmer for quite a while, checking it every few minutes and stirring it just so that it doesn't get burnt on the bottom. And then once your potatoes have fully cooked, you can go in with an immersion blender and give it that nice, thick, creamy consistency that is so lovely for potato soup. Now we have a really thick, delicious, creamy sausage cheddar potato soup with some diced tomatoes and green chilies. I'm going to add in the shredded cheese and just mix it around and let it melt in with the soup. And then I also like to take some shredded cheese and sour cream and put on top in a bowl. One thing about potato soup, I don't usually add in a lot of seasonings whenever I'm cooking it because it already has the grease, the butter, and then it has the spice from the sausage and then the spice from the tomatoes and green chilies. And everybody seems to like their potato soup salted in a specific way. And so I just let whoever is eating salt their potato soup themselves. I don't add any in it. And that way I've not overly salted something and they can add salt and pepper if they like and make it how they want it to taste. But it has the flavors, it has some spice, like I said, from the sausage and the diced tomatoes and green chilies. Has the creamy texture, so a little salt and pepper. Like I said, I like to add a little bit of cheese and some sour cream and some salt and pepper. Now we're moving on to one of my most favorite fall stews. I absolutely love to make homemade beef stew. I think ever since I got my Instant Pot and I learned how to get really tender, fall apart beef for the beef stew, it just has made this meal so hearty and creamy and filling, and there's just nothing like having a warm bowl of this beef stew on a cozy fall evening that just sets the tone for the night and is so relaxing and enjoyable with the family. The first step to make this homemade beef stew is to prep all of your vegetables. So I add mushrooms, I add onions, carrots, and red potatoes. Sometimes I'll add in celery if we have that. You can add in whatever vegetables you like or any vegetables that your family likes, but I just go ahead and get those all washed, peeled and chopped so I can just toss them right into the Instant Pot quickly. And then I turn my Instant Pot on to the saute function and add in a little bit of olive oil and let that heat up. And then I move on to the beef and I go ahead and get the beef seasoned nicely and mixed together well. And then I just want to sear the beef ever so slightly to get the nice crispy flavor from searing it. And then I add in all of the vegetables. So there's actually a meat stew button already programmed into the Instant Pot, and so after I add in all of my vegetables and about a cup of water, I turn the meat stew button on and allow that to cook. And I think after, I don't know how long it takes to come up to pressure, but it's 17 minutes of pressure cooking it, and then that usually cuts it for me. I usually don't have to do more than one round, but if you check your beef and it's still not totally tender, then you could do a second round in the pressure cooker. And then I go ahead and get my roux started. So just like with my potato soup, I made a homemade roux with butter, flour, and our raw milk. And then I actually go ahead and add that into my soup after it has finished in the Instant Pot to give it that nice creamy texture. I'm going to go ahead and get started on our chicken noodle soup. So I love chicken noodle soup so much. It's just so delicious, and I know it's good for you, and it seems like that this time of year everybody seems to get a cold or catch a cold with everybody going back to school, and I don't know if it's the change in season or what it is, but having chicken noodle soup on hand is a must in our house this time of year. So I'm gonna go ahead and shred our chicken and just sit it aside so that once the potato soup is finished, I can start making the chicken noodle soup. So I actually cooked these chicken breasts from frozen in my Instant Pot. So I got them straight out of the freezer, stuck them in the Instant Pot, added a cup of water, and cooked them I believe it was for 45 minutes from frozen, and they were still really tender, so that was the perfect amount of time. And this is actually the chicken that we raised here on our farm, and I will link the video to that below if you do not want to see a graphic video of chicken being raised and then processed, then don't watch that. But if you would like to see where we or how we raise our farm chicken, then you can click on that video below. But the Instant Pot does a great job cooking from frozen. That's another reason I really like it, and I just think that it makes it so tender. I'm gonna go ahead and strain this broth out into a cup, or probably a cup. And there's just some skin in there that I don't really want, so I'm gonna go right over top of the jar and pour slowly. So maybe I won't spill it all over the place. So now you have some delicious chicken broth, and you're saving money by not buying chicken broth, by just using what you already have. Okay, so in order to do our chicken noodle soup, I'm gonna go ahead and add some butter into the Instant Pot and turn it onto the saute function. And I am not going to add any onion, but I am gonna add in some carrots and celery, and then I'm going to season it with onion powder and garlic powder and some other Italian seasonings. This is what we have going on right now. We've already cooked the celery and carrots in a little bit of butter, added in salt and pepper and some Italian seasoning with some onion powder, and then added in a little bit of all-purpose white flour and some of our raw milk. And I'm just letting that sit for a moment. I'm gonna go ahead and add in my shredded chicken and my chicken broth. A function, and it's just kind of thick with the chicken. I'm gonna go ahead and add in my chicken broth. Give it a nice stir. Okay, I'm going in with another quart of water because we're going to add in our noodles, and then I'm going to pressure cook it so that I can get these carrots and celery and all of the noodles cooked completely. Now that I've added the noodles in, I'm going to go ahead, put my lid on, turn it to seal. I'm going to cancel it because it was on the saute function, and I'm going to hit meat stew, and that's just 17 minutes, and so I'm going to take it down to about 12 minutes so that it can cook the celery, the carrots, and the noodles all together, and then once that's finished, we'll have a completed chicken noodle soup. You can see that it cooked the noodles and cooked the carrots nicely. I'll get a fork just so I can show you guys that the carrots are nice and cooked. So they're just hard enough that they still have a little bit of nice crunch to them, but they're not soggy. So the chicken is really nice and tender. So here is our delicious homemade chicken noodle soup with our farm-raised chicken. I hope that you all enjoyed today's video and that you can go and make some of these delicious soups and stews for your own family, and that the tips and tricks that I shared with you all can help you create a soup and stew that you really love and just satisfies your hunger and creates those moments of bonding between you and your family on a cozy, cool fall evening. Maybe y'all can make a fire around a fire pit and have some s'mores for dessert and just enjoy your family time together. Thank you all so much for your sweet comments and all your kind words. And if you're new, we'd love for you to follow along on our channel. We share all kinds of recipes, homemaking, and farming adventures. Y'all have a great day.